make their sync very fast and strictly more secure than it is currently. And secondly, within a block, we could aggregate action proofs. So each Dara writes here for each transaction with two actions. What you could do is like combine these two action proofs into one, and then across transactions also combine, not combine, but recursively verify those proofs and like collapse them into one. So that would not change the asymptotics of the transaction sizes, but it would change like concretely how much it would change their concrete size. So we would have smaller transactions basically.
Right. And yeah, proof aggregation. This is I think recently I saw Kedit was looking into some kind of proof aggregation for ZSAs, the news I think ZSA swaps, I think. They wanted to do some kind of recursion stuff there. But um just like driving it back to the like end user experience, um, would this uh, kind of help with scalability? Like, how scalable does the protocol become using this type of aggregation?
Yeah, so I think Dara has said everything here. Okay.
Okay.
So there's some things that it doesn't change. These three things don't change. So honestly, the scalability bottleneck is trial decryption.
Hmm.
And we saw that in the sandblasting attack. Um, that is very recently seemed to let up a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that does not change that part. Doesn't change this. These are both like ON operations. You need to check all nullifiers. You need to check all no ciphertexts. So the bandwidth of transaction broadcast is asymptotically the same. But the concrete bandwidth use would decrease. So yeah, it would make transactions smaller. Uh, and Dara here estimates that some potential reductions. So relative to Orchard, the bandwidth reduction is roughly 83.5% to 98.6%. So
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. So it's, I guess, kind of like the highway is getting wider to allow for more cars to go through, but the speed limit stays the same.
yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, yeah, uh,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, here's an important question. In a future where Zcash is one of many private and interoperable protocols, like say we join Cosmos and everything's like interoperable and there's bridges everywhere. Um, in that scenario where like other chains such as Namada have um, similar features, how do you think Zcash stands out to users and merchants and builders like yourself?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. So, um, yeah, I want to mention, for example, Penumbra. Um, it's already sort of aiming to be the shielded pool for the Cosmos ecosystem. So it's already trying to fill that role. Um, so how would Zcash stand out? I think my only answer right now would be we have the largest anonymity set around. Um, so yeah, like that's um, provides stronger privacy guarantees. Um, but yeah, of course, that might change if other protocols get accelerated adoption in the near future. Um, but yeah, um, So I don't think Zcash necessarily has to stand out. I don't think it's a zero sum game necessarily. But I think how Zcash could contribute is to interoperate and like basically provide a way to somehow compose its anonymity set with other protocols. Um, and I think the same holds for all sheltered protocols.
Good point. Thank you. We did receive some questions from the community. We have one from Cecilia667 who says, "Hello, Ying Tong, how are you? Considering the significant innovations presented in Halo 2, such as the elimination of trusted setup, the independence of subproofs, and the introduction of the URS technique, how might these advancements directly impact the security and efficiency of zero knowledge proof systems? And what would the main advantage of Halo 2 compared to other approaches like zksnarks?" There's
Yeah.
quite a lot there.
Oh, very good question. So yeah, since this paper, I think the Halo paper was groundbreaking. And since it was published, there's been a line of research called folding schemes that was, or accumulation schemes that was inspired by the Halo paper. So yeah, right now the state of the art for efficient recursion is folding schemes. Um, and that was, yeah, like inspired by Halo. And so the other very efficient alternative for recursion is, as you mentioned, zksnarks. So, and they're a very tough competitor because they can be instantiated over smaller fields. And in fact, there's a bunch of zksnarks right now that are using 32-bit fields, which fits in a single word. So even though zksnarks, recursive zksnarks have to encode the whole verifier in the recursive circuit, they can get away with it because the field is so small. So yeah, to answer your question, I think Halo and Halo 2 sparked this whole line of work known as folding and accumulation schemes. And that is now the most efficient way to instantiate recursive snarks, with Starks and Fry being like the top competitor.
Right. Starks and what was the other one?
Oh, I said Starks and Fry. So Fry is simply the you can think of it as the polynomial commitment scheme that is used in Starks.
Okay. Yes, we have another one that came in. Why was Halo 2 technology written in Rust? This update tends to increase privacy, but will the transaction speed suffer interference?
Oh, why was it written in Rust? Yeah, I think uh, really Rust is a very safe language to write in. And also Rust has a great community around it, meaning that makes it easier for people to build on top of Halo 2. I think that was key to, the success of Halo 2, the Halo 2 community. That being said, people have implemented Halo 2 in other languages too. Like, I think Mina implemented it in OCaml, believe it or not. And yeah, there's a bunch of other snarks. If you're asking about speed, then yeah, Aztecs, Boratinberg, and I think Consensus Gnark, they both use C++. And it's true that they're super fast. But they're also really uh, sort of obscure, to me at least. So I would say like writing in Rust, the motivations are mainly safety and the developer community, and also it's this the slowdown is not that significant.
Okay. Um, yeah, I was kind of just thinking on, and I've like over the past couple of weeks been seeing more of this FHE, like full homomorphic encryption. Um, and there's like projects which say that this is like the successor to zksnarks technology or whatever. Can you explain what FHE is, and is this a potential like upgrade path for Zcash? Is it necessary?
Yeah, so FAG fully homomorphic encryption um, allows um, allows us to compute arbitrary functions on blinded inputs, encrypted inputs. So, for instance, we could write a program that expresses this orchard action statement. And then instead of, uh, so anything that was a private witness in our zksnark, we now ask the prover to encrypt it to us, right? And so we don't see the plain text, and yet we can perform the same checks as before blindly. So yeah, and really you could do any program, not just the action statement. Um, and so yeah, if you're interested in FAG, you could go look at this project, um, Zama. They have this thing called FHAVM. Oh yeah, someone. Yeah, so as C Node says in the chat, um, the question in FAG in protocols based on FAG is really who are you encrypting to? And the answer is to some threshold, to some validator step. So as was mentioned in that comment, this changes the trust assumptions fundamentally. Um, and so yeah, I do not see FHE being integrated with Zcash anytime in the near future. Um, don't think it is necessary for Zcash. It's way too, uh, I don't know. It's like, it's like we don't need that if all we're doing is transfers and possibly swaps. And it's not worth introducing these very strong trust assumptions uh, over what we have now, which is min.
I see. Um, I guess would it be more comparable to TEEs then if we're trusting like a set of validators or something?
So yeah, I guess the shape of FHE would look similar to TEE. Like your user experience would be similar in that you have all your inputs, you encrypt it to something.
Yeah.
So for FHE, you encrypt it to the threshold key. For TEE, you encrypt it to the TEE's key.
Ah, okay. I,
But
I think I
by
understand
the
now.
way, you could use TEE in combination with FHE as a defense in depth. So simply you just put each of the threshold key shares inside a TE.
Yeah.
So
I remember
that makes
this.
her, yeah.
So Andrew Miller did the teapot presentation at ZCon 4. I found it super interesting. Like
Yeah,
uh,
tea kettle, teapot.
tea kettle,
Yeah.
teapot. um, yeah. So we've got a bunch of people in the chat, and I was just wondering if anyone wanted to raise their hand, join this stage. You're all invited. Or let me just check for more questions. Hold on.
There were some
Um,
really good questions that we did some. But yeah, I will let you.
what are the expectations for Zcash in the year 2024? Um, I guess, yeah. So the Halo 2 community, is it community manager role? Um, do you like interact with a bunch of different projects? What does the role involve?
Yeah, it involves interacting with a bunch of different projects. So yeah, it involves really understanding um, how the ecosystem is growing. And right now, there's two very popular forks of Halo 2 that are used in many, many very big projects and very interesting projects. Um, so yeah, this the role involves just staying in touch with them, and also a large part of the role is providing support on the ecosystem Discord. Then people usually come with questions about um, bugs that they run into or features that they would like to implement. Um, yeah, and the last part of the role is really thinking about how to redirect some of the community contributions back upstream into Zcash Halo 2. And this last part is the most challenging part and involves because it involves a lot of coordination. Um, I will say one thing in particular that was interesting um, that that came out of this role. Let me find it. Um, it was this. It was this hacspec high assurance specification um, of the Halo 2 protocol. And it was done by some students at our host university. So basically, like a whole bunch of the discussion that led to this specification happened on our Discord. Um, so that was really cool. And I think this is an example of a low level contribution that um, like increases the security and of the whole protocol.
Awesome. Like they made their own version of Halo 2. Is that what this?
They they made a formal specification of it.
Ah, okay,
So
okay.
yeah,
Because yeah, I think Halo 2 only has a book. Like, I'm not sure if I've seen it.
yeah.
Like a full
Halo
specification
2
for it.
has a book that it has a protocol description. So what they did was basically map everything in this protocol description to the implementation. And or if I put it another way, they made this protocol description like executable. So you could check like that it's actually doing what it says.
Right. Um, we have a question in chat from Triple Uwu, and he says, mentioned folding scheme. How is it different from querying an oracle like Sapling, but still sort of work for us?
I don't understand the question.
Um, hmm. Triple, would you mind rephrasing perhaps? Um, how is it? Okay, whilst he's rephrasing, let me check for more questions.
So
on
there's a question
yeah,
that you gave me that I liked. So I'm gonna just choose it for myself to answer.
yeah.
Um, Someone asked me what projects do I think are very interesting in Halo 2. Uh, and yeah, I think this one is really interesting. Proof of email. So, um, what they do is um, they make it possible to prove that you received an email from uh, a specified um, sender. Um, so concretely, they verify the signature of the mail server that attests to the fact that this email was sent um, from the sender to you. Um, so really, what's interesting about this primitive is just the endless ways in which it can be used. So one of the really good um, demos was this onboarding from Venmo to uh, to uh, the blockchain. And what you would do is you would send some money to uh, the administrator's Venmo account, and you would get an email from Venmo um, attesting to the fact that you sent this money. So then you submit a proof of this email on chain, um, which then unlocks the attest that money from the administrator's escrow to your account on chain. So yeah, I think that was just one demonstration of how um, ZK email can be used um, for on ramp and for in general attesting to like off chain things on chain. And
Fascinating.
yeah, this project like they built it in Halo 2, or at least one version of it is in Halo 2.
That's fascinating. I think Dan's just shared this ZKP2P on
Yeah,
ramp USD.
ZK P2P is what I was talking about. Thank you.
Okay,
That's the Venmo on ramp. Yeah.
very cool. Yeah, specifically for on ramps, I think this could be useful given the current climate and what have you. um, yeah, we have another question. Is it possible to use Halo 2 in AI tools, and would it be beneficial?
So there's this project. There's two projects that built um, ZKML circuits in Halo 2. I know this is not answering a question about AI tools, because I don't know how to answer that. Um, but what we have right now is, for example, in Ezekiel, uh, they allow you to take an ONNX output and basically like directly generate a zksnarks circuit. So there's a compiler from ONNX to Halo 2. And then you can make proofs about like your inputs to the circuit without having to reveal your inputs. So yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. Here's one way that it could be integrated in the AI. So in the private model um, setting, whereby your AI model is proprietary, um, you could use ZKML to sort of verify certain um, attributes about this model. So, for example, it's not biased, or for example, it is really as accurate as it claims. Um, and yeah, basically, you would keep the weights of your model as private inputs and put in your testing set as a your test input as a public input, and yeah, basically prove in zero knowledge that proprietary model is not biased. So, and also you could prove that, for example, you're running the same model every single time. I think WorldCoin is interested in zkML for this reason, because you don't know what's going on in their orbs. I don't know if people are familiar with WorldCoin at all.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the eyeballs.
yeah. Okay, I know this image doesn't tell you much, but they have this orb that's like trusted hardware. Um, and what it does, it is scans your some biometric indicators and converts that to a unique hash, which is serves as your identity. And so they cannot reveal the model that they're using inside. Um, but they can prove to you, for example, that they're running the same model in every orb. So,
Right.
so those are some ways that Halo 2 could be used.
Interesting. And do you know if WorldCoin does use Halo 2?
Does WorldCoin use Halo 2? Oh,
Yeah.
do I know? Uh, I don't know. I don't know. But I don't think so. I think they use something called Plonky 2, which
Okay.
is based on Stark Fry, which is based on Fry. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. Did we have any more questions, guys? Please drop them in the chat if you do. Otherwise, I do know it's fairly late for you, so kind of in the interest of time, I'd maybe leave it here. Um, and thank you for this super interesting discussion. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. And you can find me on the Halo 2 Discord, um,
Yes,
which
the
you can
Halo.
access through Halo 2 Club.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks so much. And I hope to see you around.
Brilliant. Thank you. Take care. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for joining. Cheers.